Okay, hello. My name is Peter Lucas. I teach in the Department of International Affairs here at the New School, and I teach classes related to human rights and media. And I'm always talking to my students about this idea of building up your digital portfolio. And in my classes, I'm always thinking that there's four things that I want my students to do. First, I want my students to make media. In that sense, I want them to understand the history of documentary practice, the strategies of documentary, the issues related to the ethics of documentary, the representational strategies. I also want my students to know how to package media. And by package media, I mean how to create a great website around your media projects with information, education, networking, and a social action plan, or things that we can do to change the situation of the project that we're making media of. So I spent a lot of time in my classes helping students to package media, to understand the packaging, because that's where we get into the social transformation mode. One of the questions that I'm always asking the students is, what's the difference between the dissemination of media and the transformation of media? And to put this in simple terms, the dissemination of media is just moving information around, which is important because we want to shine a light on a troubled spot in the world from a human rights perspective. And that leads to awareness, and it can also lead to things like compassion, concern, understanding, tolerance, empathy. But the transformation of information is something different. What can we do to change the situation that we're representing in media? That's a very different question, because it means taking things like empathy and concern and compassion and tolerance and moving them to another dimension and actually turning them into action to create change. The third issue is I want students to be educators for media in participatory media platforms like youth media, citizen journalism, indigenous media, pirate radio, community radio, digital inclusion, visual inclusion projects. I want students to be able to educate other people who are marginalized from dominant media and mainstream media how to make their own media. And finally, I want my students to be a little more expressive and experimental, to think outside of the box and to make documentary projects that are not the normal way of thinking about documentary practice. So when I think about students developing a digital portfolio, I'm thinking about how they make media, how they package media, how they become human rights educators and peace educators, and how they help other people make participatory media platforms, and how they themselves can make experimental media. So that's my ideal of a media portfolio for students.